the invitation is to use this space to feel into how it is to be a parent in these times. And I really invite you to not just be here as a spectator, but to be here as a participant who is, joining in as many ways as you feel comfortable today. So a little bit about why I decided to host this special session today is that I've been working in change making for about 10 years, and then I had a very intense period of climate activism just before I got pregnant. And now I'm on the other side of it. I'm a mom to a 3-year-old little boy. And what I felt I really have a need to figure out how to be with is that as a climate activist, as people who are looking at what is going wrong in the world, we have such an intimate awareness of all of the things that are coming undone. And at the same time, as parents, we have so little time to pay attention. There are a lot of really immediate things that ask us, a little human, more little humans, that ask us for our attention, that need our help for their survival. And then a lot of ways in which parenting is actually set up in our modern societies is making both parenting but also showing up for the world is a bit much harder than it could be if we would do the whole humaning thing differently. So I really felt almost this paradox of caring about the future even more and having even less time or energy, or sometimes also just mental health available to really look at what's happening and to be with it in a way that does not push me into burning out. And there are a lot of moments still where I feel that I'm tempted to look the other way. I'm tempted to numb out. I'm meeting with other parents that I want to connect with and want to feel close with. And I know that bringing up the ways things are disintegrating might not actually make for a more connecting conversation with them. I'm also running moms groups, and then there is also the awareness that there is already a lot of pressure on parents today, and it's difficult to bring yet another issue into our lives, into their lives, that they need to care about. But as I said, we want to take care of our children, and we know that it's impossible to take care of our child, of our children, when the world as a whole is becoming less and less safe. And also, as an activist, I'm aware that parents are very much at the center of society, that we are very often, the politicians are targeting their messages around. We are people that big companies have a huge interest in terms of consumers. We are the ones who are shaping the nervous systems of the next generation. So there is also a really powerful potential in parenting and in how we show up during this time in our lives. And there is also another other dimension that in the fast-paced modern world doesn't get a lot of space, and that is the one of initiation. Is that when we become parents, it's actually a very natural moment in our lives where we change roles, where old things die, or old ways of being no longer work, where we get to question, where we need to deepen, we need to ask ourselves, how do we want to show up? Who do we want to be? There might also be a lot of overwhelm and a need of surrender, or an understanding that maybe so far we could get quite far by doing things on our own. But now in parenthood, we need help. Our children are not just raised by one or two people, but actually by a whole network of people. So there is also this dimension of opening up, of redefining self, and also of redefining self in relationship to something much bigger, of something that is much more than my own body, but actually the body of others who live outside of me that become included in my sense of self. And maybe it is that I can see my child in the face of every child that I encounter, that suddenly it's much easier for me to empathize with mothers, with fathers in other places that before I did not feel so much connection with, or that I feel a need to protect children that actually not my own. And I care about the future that I myself will never witness. So there is a parallel to the initiation of parenting, to the initiation that might be happening right now, where environmental systems, economic systems, political systems, maybe social systems seem to be falling apart, where we don't know what is crumbling to be gone forever and what is crumbling to make space for something new. And the invitation is to be with these changes, these transitions, to feel them, to make space to feel them, and to sense into what they are asking of us. So today is a very small taste maybe of how that might look like. And I will end the session with a couple of invitations for places where you might want to go much further and much deeper. But yeah, I'm really appreciating all of you showing up here today. And I feel like it's so hard sometimes to make space for things like that in my own life. Like before I showed up to this call, I did the dishes, and after this call, I will run to pick up my son from kindergarten, and I already packed some birthday presents for another little boy who has his birthday today. So I think it's something really precious that we are making space to be with this topic today, and also something that very often we have to do really consciously and on a regular basis. It's not something that we can do once and it's done, but it's something that we need to keep coming back to. So with that, maybe let's just take a moment to feel ourselves, to feel how we are right now. That was already a lot of text. Maybe look away from the screen. Take a breath. Yeah, maybe take a stretch. Feel your body. And noting some of the things that are holding you today, that are supporting you today. Maybe you have a cup of coffee standing in front of you. Maybe there are some colors that you like in your room. Maybe there is a nice view in front of the window. And I'd like to invite us to make a couple of agreements. It's quite, yeah, it's a minimalist version of what we would do in other workshops. But because we're talking about topics that can go quite deep, I think it's really important first to ask you to put self-care on top, to stretch a little bit, maybe for some of the exercises, make one step across your comfort zone if it feels edgy, but also not to overstretch yourself, to take care of your body, to drink, to move, to just leave and go to the bathroom if that's what you need. And to really honor your boundaries today. The second one would be to let go of judgment, especially when we will be sharing in breakout rooms with each other, to listen with an open heart and to let go of the need to respond, but really just to honor what each of us will be sharing. And the third one, to leave personal details in this room. You can talk about your experience outside of this session, but if somebody else shares something personal, please treat it as something private. And if you're able to agree on this, you could just, if your video is on, give me some twinkle fingers, thank you, or just put a thumbs up or an okay in the chat. Thank you so much. So today's session will do two different exercises that are inspired by Joanna Macy's The Work That Reconnects. And the first one of them are the open sentences. Those of you who are familiar with that, it's an exercise where I will give you an open sentence, and the invitation is to just finish the sentence however it comes to you in this moment. So soon Elisabetta is going to create breakout rooms for us, and we will go together in pairs for 6 minutes, which means that each person gets 3 minutes to speak, and I will give you an open sentence, and the idea is to just continue finishing the sentence for those 3 minutes that are yours. If nothing comes to mind for a moment, it's completely fine to be silent and to see what else comes up. Also, to apply the non-judgmental attitude towards yourself and just let go. Try not to think about what you're going to say before you say it, and see if you might surprise yourself. So the first round that we're going to go into is what Joanna calls anchoring in gratitude. And the idea here is that when we want to engage in deep emotions, sometimes in challenging emotions, it's good to anchor and to resource ourselves first. And also gratitude is something very rebellious, because it frees us from what we might call the consumerism of modernity, where we need to be a certain way in order to be good, where we need to pay for things in order to achieve some happiness, because gratitude is something that is available to us at all times, and as such it is subversive. So the first sentence that we will work with today is, what I love about being alive on this planet is. So if this was my turn, I would go, what I love about being alive on this planet is chocolate. And then you continue and you continue. All right. Are there any questions? I would say the person with the shorter hair begins. And Elisa might send you an update when it's like after 3 minutes. So you are aware that you need to switch person, but I also ask you to pay attention so both of you will have a chance to speak. And if you all are ready, then Elisa, please send us off.
Is that something I saw on with Nate Hagens, who was talking about thinking scenario thinking. So we can live with lots of scenarios at the same time, and it helps us to be able to take action towards the scenario we feel most drawn to, but we can also live with all the other scenarios at the same time. So we normally have this kind of idea of there being the future we're trying to move towards, and that then we have to find solutions and make steps towards that. And I think that's no longer a kind of useful way of thinking. So if we think in these kind of parallel scenarios,
Thank you.
we can be more in action and more in possibility, but we kind of also can be accepting of the probabilities. If I don't know,
Yeah, thank you.
maybe you were saying something more in the acceptance space, but I think that that's also helps us in the acceptance space.
Thank you, Deborah. I think actually, like this session, we're in the middle, and I will just take us back to the original flow in a sec. But actually, what Deborah just said is something that Joanna Macy, who is one of the inspirations for this session, is also speaking to. That there are these three stories that are happening at the same time. It's business as usual, which is the story that we have to keep doing things and there needs to be growth. For example, there is the story of everything falling apart, of things crumbling, and then there is the story of the great turning where actually we are learning and we're growing and things are turning out all right. And she says we can't know which one is the one who will succeed, but we can decide which story we want to feed. So we just did a round of open sentences on gratitude, and the next round that I will invite us in is what Joanna calls honoring our pain for the world. And today's session is to sense into how we are with this sense that many of us have, that a lot of things are crumbling, a lot of things are no longer working. There are a lot of predictions about the future actually looking quite dire. So how do we actually feel when we allow ourselves to be with those realities or with those we could also think about it as us being nervous system and receiving those signals. So the second round is around an open sentence that goes like this: what breaks my heart when I think about my child or my children's future is. And in a moment, we'll go back into breakout rooms. We will be again in groups of twos, and each of you will have 3 minutes to complete that sentence. And I just want to send you off with another thought from Joanna Macy, which is that when we allow ourselves to feel our pain for the world, whether that is actual grief or anger, or it's just to make space for the numbness or for the confusion or whatever it is, this is us showing up as part of the immune system of this world. It's us. It's a proof for us being part of the world as a wider living system, and us being part of that nervous system and receiving those feedback signals, which also puts us in a position to react to them and to become part of the solution. So very often our grief, our anger, our anxiety can be framed in terms of a personal failure or a psychological issue to deal with. And it's can be very powerful to reframe those as healthy responses that actually speak to our belonging. So if you're ready, if there are no questions, I will ask Elisa to open the breakout rooms again. This time, let the person with the longer hair begin. And the sentence is, what breaks my heart when I think about my child or my children's future is. Thank you to everyone. So maybe just take a moment now to feel how you feel. Take a moment to just notice how you are in your body after this sharing, after talking, after listening. How is your breath? In this session, we're moving quite quickly because we have just this hour, but I still want to have at least this moment of really just noticing what's happening without judgment and catching it. So we have about 20 minutes left, and I'll move us on to what Joanna Macy would call seeing with new eyes. Maybe I can share that part of the reason why I chose this title for this session today is because I had an interview with Milne a couple of weeks ago, and we can share the YouTube link with you by the end of the session. But she is really working also with the idea of composting modernity, of midwifing something new, of letting fall apart what might fall apart, and being also with the things that are dying and connecting to the more than human world to find some support, some strength, new perspectives through it. And whether this composting is a rebirth or whether this composting is a death is quite open. So the question is, or the task is, to develop the capacity to be with this uncertainty. And one way in which we can do that is by tapping into imagination and to allow ourselves to rethink, like parenthood asks us to do, is to rethink what is self, to reinvent what is self, to open up for new possibilities. And something similar might be happening also to all of us as we live through this moment on this planet. So the next exercise is an imaginative one. And I will invite you to write a little bit after I take you on a small journey. So if you have some physical writing material somewhere close by, it would be great if you just get them. And otherwise, you could also just open another tab on your computer later, so you're able to jot down a few thoughts. I'll just give you a small moment to do that. And then invite you to feel your weight. Take a few deep breaths. Maybe do another stretch. Maybe let out some noise. Whatever it is. And when you're comfortable, you could either close your eyes or just soften your gaze and look away from the screen. And I will take you on a very quick journey forward in time. You're traveling to the year 2050, and you find yourself in a garden. You can smell the grass and hear the birds and feel the sun. And when you look at your hands, you can tell that you're a little bit older. And even though you might hear a little bit less well than in the present day, you hear some waves of laughter and music coming from somewhere. And you realize it's some sort of celebration going on. So you decide to walk towards those sounds. And you come across people that look joyful. You might even recognize some faces of people dear to you, also a little bit older now. And there are tables with food and children running. And you see there, amongst the other people, your own child or your own children. And they are all grown up. And they look happy. So in this moment, you realize it might just be turning out kind of all right. And there is a sense of possibility and openness when you think about the future. There's a sense of us taking a turn and us starting to repair relationships with each other and ourselves and all of life, possibly. And as you look at your child or your children, you become aware that you took important steps, that you did something, you contributed somehow to things turning around. What did you do? How did you show up in those last 25 years or so? Who did you become? What is your role? And with those questions, I invite you to slowly open your eyes again and start writing. There are no answers, there's no need to be realistic. Don't judge your first impulses, just let them come as they come. And I will give us 3 minutes to do so and put on some music. Try to slowly continue. Contemplative. Thank you. I know it's short, but if you feel like you have much more to write, you might just come back to this after our session. So I want to invite you now to share some of what you wrote. You could either read us a sentence or two if you feel happy to, or share more about how this process was for you. Maybe you had an insight, maybe there's something you're taking away from it. How was this? What came up for you?
So I've just come out of a 2.5 day symposium that we've organised as part of a kind of a bigger initiative called the Great Imagining, which is about kind of connecting and making a kind of seasonal weave of kind of all of the good stuff everywhere. And I was feeling an envisaging of what that would feel like if that all was to be able to be realised in the world, and then also the intentional community that I'm also in the process of envisioning and making into reality, which is a personal journey of thinking about how to keep my my family and my kind of people I love around me, and to be safe and to be in a kind of multi-generational and multi-skilled community where we can live closer to the land. And so I was really enjoying the moment of imagining that to have come into fruition and reality and be in the world. So yeah, thank you. Although I was like, my imagining was very little bit, and then I was going back to my spreadsheet.
That's also how we make things happen, though. Thank you. Mm.
But thank you.
I see Lily has her hand up.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed that. And I'll just read what I wrote. I said, I worked with young people to help them find their contribution in this great turning. I made films that filled people with hope and action. I loved my son and helped him navigate the uncertainty. I chanted every day for a beautiful future and felt joy. I made connections. I laughed, I danced, I sang, I smiled and built communities. I loved people and planet. I loved it all.
Thank you. Thanks. I feel like joy is such an important part of it also. It's not just like all of the hard work and the things that we might need to miss out on, but also the like, what do we do it for? Thanks. I don't know your name. It's Elwe? Elwe?
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Oh, this has been a lovely session. Thank you. I'm going to read what I wrote. Um, Moro people, I have something special for you. Moro people, I'm here to do God's work. You might not believe in God. That's okay. No worries, love. But do you believe in you? Do you know you? I'm here to write, to show, to share, to shout out loud what being you constitutes. What all does it include? So that you may fall in complete love with yourself, as you are, as you're meant to be, as you always were. My job is to help you heal and return to your true self. My job is to share stories of nature, of fantasies, of imagination, of goodness, of heart, of love, of you.
Thank you. It's almost a poem.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry
Yeah.
to everybody who will not be able to share, but we're running already towards the end of our session. If you want to share something, please just pop it in the chat. But I will need to wrap us here, and I really want to leave you with a couple of resources where you might go if you want to take this work a little bit farther. I will ask Lisa to share them in the chat. So there is I need to check which, yeah, so there is Joanna Macy, there is the work that Reconnects and Active Hope, they offer sessions, but also Claire Milne's Starter Culture if you're interested in this idea of composting. And then there are grief tending workshops where you could really spend much more time with all of the emotions that are coming up. One of them, for example, hosted by Climate Psychology and Change that I put in the chat. And the Climate Psychology Alliance is also offering sessions for parents, but also for activists that are struggling with topics like burnout and anxiety. If you're a parent and you want to do something, check out who is already active in your area. Fridays for Future is always a good place to go to. There is a recording also of the interview that I had with Claire Milne. And I think that the grief tending workshop is hosted by Sophie Banks. I'm working with as well around how our nervous system shows up in groups and how we might create healthier cultures from that.